You've reached Mecca. Enter the Masjid al-Haram and start immediately with Tawaf. Whether this is Tawaf al-Umrah if you are Mutamatti', or this is Tawaf al-Qudum, whether you are doing Ifrad or Qiran, which is Sunnah. And you're not supposed to pray 2 rak'ah Tahiyyat al-Masjid. You should start with the Tawaf directly. Once you start the Tawaf, of course, there's no Talbiyah. You start before the black stone and you point at it. If you cannot kiss it or touch it, you just point at it and say, Bismillah wa Allahu Akbar. This is what you say, and you do not have to say the long dua, though some scholars recommended it, but the long dua afterwards, this is not authentic. Some scholars say that it is recommended, but there is no hadith backing it up. And you go round. The first round, you make whatever dua you want. Once you reach the Yemeni corner, which is before the black stone, the sunnah is to wipe it. If you can't wipe it because it's too far or too crowded, move on. And you say between the Yemeni corner and the black stone, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And you reach the black stone and you say, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, pointing at it again. All this time going around the Kaaba is to your left. You don't face the Kaaba as some people do and walk like crabs sideways. No, this is totally wrong and your tawaf is invalid. You have to look to your left and you have to keep the Kaaba to your left and move on. And if you notice, there is an area after you pass the black stone and you pass the door, al-multazam, there is an area where there's an arc or an arch structure out of the Kaaba. But nobody goes from inside. They all go from outside. What happens if I were to go from the inside? Then your round is invalid. Why? Because this arch is part of the Kaaba and it was demolished due to some flooding. And they could not rebuild the Kaaba fully on that structure, on these foundations at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So they left it as it is. So if you go from the inside, it's like entering the Kaaba and not going around it, and this round would not be accepted. After you finish, you go to, after you finish your 7th round, 7 rounds. On the 7th round, once you reach the black stone, you don't point and say, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, because this is over. You say it only in the beginning of the round, not at the end of the round. Then you go to Maqam Ibrahim. And what is Maqam Ibrahim? It's the golden structure that is found next to the standing there, where it is reported that Ibrahim stood on that rock, and some say that there are the footprints of Ibrahim on that rock. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, and take, O believers, from the standing place of Ibrahim, a place of prayer. So this ayah, you recite it after you finish your tawaf and go to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim 2 rak'ahs, if you can, or anywhere in the haram, reciting in the first rak'ah, قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ after the Fatiha, and the second, Surah Al-Ikhlas after the Fatiha as well. Afterwards, it's sunnah to go back and drink from Zamzam, but this was when there was a clear place for people to go to Zamzam well, because the Zamzam well was next to the Kaaba before it was covered totally now, and you cannot see it. It has a different entrance where you cannot enter it. Before it was open. So the Prophet went to Zamzam, drank from it and poured some water of Zamzam on his head. Now we cannot do this because Zamzam is not there. So if you go to one of the water containers and do this anywhere, that would do the job, inshallah. Afterwards, you go to Safa. Khalas, we finished the Tawaf. We go and move to the Safa area.